Hi, my name is Jay Sugarman, and I want to welcome you to Museum Open House. This ongoing series features and highlights many of the outstanding museums and other cultural institutions. The main purpose of most programs is to inform viewers about current and upcoming exhibits, various programs, resources, and other opportunities that are available for the general public. Today via Zoom, we're fortunate to have as our guests Anita Kunz and Jane Dini. Anita is a highly accomplished and distinguished illustrator whose work has been featured in virtually every top national and international publication and displayed in exhibitions worldwide. Among her many honors and achievements, Anita was the first woman and the first Canadian to have a solo show at the Library of Congress. Anita is also the author of the groundbreaking book entitled Original Sisters, Portraits of Tenacity and Courage, which features the stunning portraits of many diverse and extraordinary women from ancient times to today, many unknown and underrecognized. 285 of these portraits and accompanying biographical information comprise the remarkable exhibition currently on display at the Norman Rockwell Museum. Jane holds a Ph.D. in the history of art from the University of California, Santa Barbara, and she serves as the Curator of Exhibitions at the Norman Rockwell Museum. Jane was the curator of Anita's extraordinary exhibition, which will be on display until May 26th. During the program, we'll find out why and how the Original Sisters project came about. We'll go on a behind-the-scenes tour of the exhibition, and in the process, come to better understand and appreciate some of the incredible achievements of change-making women worldwide from ancient history to present times. Let's start by meeting our guest and learning all about Original Sisters, Portraits of Tenacity and Courage. Welcome. I'm so delighted you're both able to be here.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Jay.
For the sake of time, I only scratched the surface of your illustrious backgrounds, but we have to have some time to talk about the book and the exhibition. That said, I was really fascinated when I first read about the exhibition, intrigued about the related book, which I hadn't been aware of. And then after reading the book, Anita, I was completely blown away by what you had begun and had accomplished. I've learned a lot, eager to find out more and have you inform viewers. I think it would be helpful and of interest if you'd please start by sharing what inspired you to start and create the Original Sisters project during the pandemic.
Well, I have been an editorial illustrator for many years, 4 decades. And so I've always done work that served some kind of a function. In this case, it was in conjunction with the printed word. I did work that had to do with social and political issues. So, I mean, I've always done that. I've always done work that's kind of been in the public eye. But after doing that for decades, I also wanted to start doing things that were meaningful and important to me. I always wanted to do a deep dive into one particular subject. And as an illustrator, as a magazine illustrator, I was doing 2 or 3 assignments a week. And it was a lot. And I wanted to do something that I could just really dig, really spend my time doing and energy. And then the pandemic happened, and I had this idea that I wanted to just do portraits. I had done many portraits for Rolling Stone and Time and publications like that, but I wanted to do somebody that I was interested in. And I became aware of some women who I had never heard of. And I thought, well, I'm going to paint their portrait. And I started doing it. And first I thought I'll do maybe 10, then I thought I'll do 40, and then I'll do 100. And it's now almost 500 portraits. And they're all women who have inspired me, who I think have been incredibly courageous, and each one is completely different. Women from all over the world, women through time, and their stories really inspired me, and especially during such a difficult time, which was the pandemic. And now in political terms, women have, I mean, it's kind of a dangerous time for women. I think our rights are in danger of being stripped away. So that's how I started, little by little, and I never anticipated that I would do almost 500.
No, what I found so fascinating about your book, the many individuals I had no idea of, and how your additional biographical information just wanted me to continue researching more and more about them. So it was a great jumping off point as well as first an introduction and enjoying your incredible artwork. How about certain individuals? What challenges did you face when researching lesser known historical figures like this woman here, Alice Ball?
Yeah, sometimes there's endless photo reference of some of the subjects. Sometimes there's none. Sometimes there are grainy photographs, and I have to draw them to the best of my ability. And I'm trying to make it as historically accurate as possible. And I just should say that if anybody ever sees an error, please let me know, because history is often incorrect about things. So, but I'm making my best effort to write about these women and to paint them as realistically and as respectfully as possible. So that's what I'm trying to do. Now, it was even more difficult, the ones before photography. So this, for instance, I mean, I would search the time frame. I would look at sometimes sculptures,
Hmm.
reconstructions, and again, just do the best I could based upon the information that we currently have.
You know, what were some of the messages or emotions you hope readers take away from the book?
Well, I mean, for me, there was a lot of surprise, mainly because I hadn't heard of so many of these women. Women, in my particular case, women artists. How come I didn't hear about these women? I didn't learn about them, and I thought I had a pretty good education. But it just seems like so many of these women have fallen through the cracks, or they haven't been respected in the way that they should have been respected. And I just, so I mean, I was surprised. I was, and I just, but it made me want to depict them, and it made me want to have people at least know about them.
Well, you've definitely done that for sure. Um, Moving on, Jane, welcome. How did the exhibition at the Norman Rockwell Museum came about from the book?
Well, Anita has been a longtime supporter and friend of Norman Rockwell. We are
Mm.
the Center of American Illustration. Anita is one of the preeminent illustrators of North America, and she has long not only supported the artists Rockwell and contemporary illustration, but she herself has been generous in donations over the last 20 years. Um, donating many of her works. She's been included in group shows, um, and then after those shows, she would actually donate some of these extraordinary works. We had over 41, at least I think it's now 42 objects that she has donated. Um, so it is not I, but she also has had a long relationship with our director, Lori Norton Moffat, and Stephanie Plunkett, our chief curator. So I was the beneficiary. I came last year, and this was already, discussions were in the works, and I couldn't have been more thrilled. I have a background in historical portrait painting, so I was very, very keen to work on this project, and it was important for me as a historical American curator to make sure that my audience, our audience, knew who Anita was. It wasn't just all these sisters that they would come to know and love and admire, but it was Anita's career as well, that I wanted people to understand this trajectory she's been on. And so we meet Anita when we enter the first gallery in the form of her self-portrait.
Mhm.
That's a recent self-portrait. And then we learn a little bit about her career as being the premier celebrity portraitist for Rolling Stone, Time, Atlantic, also a really astute uh, um, illustrator of modern politics as well. But I wanted people to arrive at this at the beginning of Original Sisters, knowing Anita, knowing her passion, and having tremendous regard for her skill and her work.
No, I appreciate you adding that additional background information because, as I said in the introduction, could easily go on and on about Anita and her many accomplishments and the impact she's had over her illustrious career. As far as the exhibition goes, what were some of your thoughts or approach in organizing the vast collection of portraits that visitors can enjoy?
Right. Well, it was really listening to Anita's vision. And her vision was that this be an immersive experience, and that that visitors to the show would would meet these women, all the women, sort of at once. They wouldn't be broken up into categories, sportswomen over here or leaders over here, scientists over here, that they'd be surrounded by all of them together. And it really impacts you in really a kind of profound way. Um, so we see this wall grid, for instance. You're looking at a shot that you see when you enter the museum. There are three galleries of Original Sisters, but this one is on the long sight line as you enter the museum. And there you see politicians, women that lived 200 years ago, women living today, artists, scientists, world leaders. So that's the way Anita wanted to present this work, and we were very, very careful to adhere to that vision.
How'd you go about balancing the historical figures with the contemporary women?
I don't know how Anita did it. Well, we tried, and we had them out on big tables so that we could see, that we could make sure that someone that lived long time ago was coupled with someone today. For instance, there's Hatshepsut in the upper right hand corner, and below is Ruby Bridges, someone who's very important to our institution and who figures into the Norman Rockwell story. And I wanted to make sure people could see her way across the galleries. Um, so, and of course, Ruby Bridges is alive today, but she's not a little girl anymore. Um, but also, if you see, Anita has these vibrant backgrounds. Some are golden, some are fuchsia, bright red, green, and we wanted that really arresting visual um, display to sort of reverberate on the walls. So I think it does quite nicely. It has an energy of its own just in the color arrangements.
Most definitely. Anita, how'd you feel when you first saw the portraits displayed in the museum?
Um, I think I had a few tears, and I was worried that Jane would think that I didn't like it, but I loved it. I think I'm welling up a little bit now. I mean, you have to understand that as an illustrator, one of the most important places to show is the Norman Rockwell Museum. So, and I've been in group shows, but just the idea of having a solo show at such a prestigious museum. I mean, it's extraordinary. And I loved what she did. I have to say at the beginning, I wanted it all to be about the sisters. I didn't want it to be about me because it wasn't about me, but everybody says, and I agree now that just knowing a little bit about me sort of takes you beautifully into this project.
Definitely,
I
definitely.
just want to say something. So Jane, I love the way, I mean, first of all, I couldn't be happier with having worked with Jane. I'm going to be really sad when it's over, but I love the way that it was curated. People are just raving about the curation. So I just want to say thank you, Jane. And that, yeah, the whole thing about the colors. I mean, the whole project kind of, it was kind of an organic project. And the reason I put all these bright colors was because this is not a show for women. This is a show for everybody. And I thought bright colors would be more interesting for kids and teenagers and boys and girls and men. And, so that's what I did. And then I just loved the way that Jane curated the whole show. So I'm thrilled.
As you should be, as we all are. How do you think the exhibition enhances the impact of the stories in Original Sisters?
Do you want me to answer that?
Yes,
Or
please.
how does it impact? Well, I don't know. I mean, first of all, I thought it was very important to uh, paint the paintings, but also for me, it was important to put the typography on them. I don't know why. It was another layer of meaning. It was another way to paint the woman as authentically as I could. Often it's her signature. When I couldn't find her signature, I would hand letter a font that I thought would be appropriate to this person. Um, Another thing that I thought was really important was just putting a little blurb underneath each portrait. Because the whole thing is meant to be a learning experience. I want people to learn the way that I did, because for me, this was a whole learning experience. So I just wrote a few sentences so that people could just have an understanding of something about what the woman did. That's the part I had the hardest. I'm not a writer, so that was difficult for me. But I want people to come away with the idea that, we've always been here. We're strong. We're all over the place. We're in every profession from the beginning of time. And, there have been some incredibly important accomplishments by women which I think, these should be recognized.
Most
Something,
definitely.
Jay. Before we get to the Berkshire sisters, Anita, who is the woman who um, swam the English Channel? I've forgotten the one in the purple.
I've forgotten her name. I'm in trouble getting older.
Gertrude Ederle.
That's
Well,
it.
no, I'm glad we both forgot because I
Okay.
was in the gallery on Saturday and a little 8-year-old girl came up to me and said, I know who that is. Yes, because you talked about the bright backgrounds, sort of being fun for children to discover. She said she swam the English Channel.
So
And
cool.
I said, really? And so she was telling me the story. And I just think that's brilliant.
Oh,
And that's right. Jay, I forget. I mean, I know I know my field and I've come to know a lot of the sisters that I didn't know, but there's so many,
Oh,
and the points of intersection, you don't know who will be by your side pointing somebody out to you, you know? So it's
yep.
been really fun that way.
You mentioned the women from the Berkshires. Uh, Anita, what's the significance of donating the portraits of the three women, which we'll see up close: Elizabeth Freeman, Edith Wharton, and Shayna Hosley?
Well, the interesting thing is that Elizabeth Freeman I have a backlist of women I still want to paint. And she was on that list. She was one of the women I still wanted to paint. So I was very happy. I mean, this was a commission. But the three portraits just fit in absolutely beautifully with with what I was doing anyway. So it was, it was easy for me to do. It was just, there were three more that should have been included anyway. So, but I mean, I think, there again, we're everywhere, and it was really wonderful to do three that had local influence. So it worked out perfectly.
Jay, can you go back to the shot of them all together? Um, that I think they're all together with the table where we were talking about the swimmer. There they are. Edith Wharton, Elizabeth Freeman, and Shannon Halsey, who's she is the leader of the Muncie Stockbridge, our indigenous community here in Berkshire County. Um, I, it was incredible. We were talking about to Anita how how great this show would be for local women, for local histories, and what we could do. And we were mentioning Edith Wharton's The Mount, Shannon Halsey as the leader, this tremendous leader that she is. She's spearheaded all of these incredible initiatives, including the purchase of lands back in Berkshire County for the Muncie Stockbridge community. The story of Elizabeth Freeman, the Freeman Center that helps women today in Berkshire County. And it was Anita's idea that she said, I can paint them. And we were blown away by that offer. So it wasn't a usual commission in that way. It was Anita's incredible generosity, not only of, just of spirit, but of her time and her expertise. And there they all are. And so we put a table next to it so everyone can have the opportunity to draw and experience their original sister. So it became so much more. It became an interactive. It became a way to conduct outreach for our community and our museum. It's an amazing gift.
Oh, thank you for sharing that additional background information. Jane, one question as we're getting towards the end, how does the exhibition align with the museum's mission of celebrating art and storytelling?
Oh, goodness. I'm tenfold, 285-fold. Those are the number of the women that are on the walls. And it isn't just their stories, it's their stories in relationship to one another. We have Joan of Arc next to Kamala Harris. So we have interesting ways to build on stories. We have Greta Thunberg and Jane Goodall. We can talk about legacies within this exhibition of women who have championed the environment. So there are all of these connections within the portrait to the portraits, how the portraits relate to each other, but also how we relate to the portraits. And Anita's given, I think, not only our museum, but our community, and when I say community, our illustrator communities, so many ideas. Do you know, at her opening, we had so many, not only mm, professors from different illustration programs, art programs. We had all of these illustrators come up from New York City, and so many have said, oh my goodness, I see so many possibilities for my work.
Mm.
So she's not only given a gift to this museum, but to her community writ large of the possibilities of fine art and illustration, and the intersection between the two, or, we don't need to have those categories anymore. She's just really, really sort of blown these categories apart with
Wow.
her, extraordinary imagination.
Wow. Wow. Anita, when you look back from beginning your initial research and portraiture during the pandemic, now 5 years plus out, what are some of your thoughts and reactions to how this has spiraled and where it is today and continue to be growing.
Well, it's as I hoped. I mean, I wanted to at least start conversations, and I don't know. I had the idea that just celebrating these women could possibly springboard into other things. I love the idea of having, kids involved. I mean, I sort of I started this project without understanding possibilities, and the further I go, um, I think the more possibilities there could potentially be. And I mean, my biggest thing is I really love that kids are involved. I mean, that was what I set out to do.
Well, we not only, so another just brief story, Jay, is that I was in
Please.
the gallery. Two sisters, about 8 and 10, were doing drawings in the gallery. And so I was chatting with their father, and it turned out he was a scientist. And so then we were talking about that. And then we started talking about the different women who had been scientists, and including Katherine Johnson, a mathematician who worked on, for NASA. And he then brought his daughters over to look at that portrait. And so it really brought about a wonderful family activity. And I've worked in a lot of museums, and time and time again, we're always thinking, how will audiences engage with this work? How can we get, engagement within the galleries? I've done a big show on dance, and trying to get people to dance in the galleries, but I
Hmm.
don't think I've had quite the engagement in any other show that I've had with this one.
Wow. Wow. What a testimony.
Amazing.
Uh, Nita, looking ahead, what are some of your current and upcoming plans?
Well, I'm going to pause this project at 500 because I mean the biggest problem with this show is that it becomes too big to show. I'm gonna need an auditorium at some point. That um but I mean I would love to for other people, I'd love for it to travel. I'm also I mean I'm still illustrating a little bit. I've done a New Yorker cover that comes out in 2 weeks. So I'm still doing a little bit of that. I'm sort of working on a book of fables,
Hmm.
having to do with modern fables, having to do with the environment and political issues and stuff like that. So I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to keep working. I
Yeah.
don't have any plans to leave.
Well, definitely look forward to any and all of your upcoming productions.
We'll
Um,
have to build another wing in our museum.
ah, well
Yeah.
worth it. Well worth it. Let's start fundraising. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of the program. I want to thank both of you so much for taking the time to be here. This was a real treat. Um, Eager to visit myself. I know it's going to be on display several more months through the end of May, May 26th. So lots of time for viewers and others to make their way to the Norman Rockwell Museum.
And Jay, Anita will be with us in March and May for two fabulous events. So we're going to get her back. And then we've got all kinds of public programs, including some fabulous readings that we're doing in conjunction with the Mount, Edith Wharton's
Oh,
museum
terrific.
here in Lenox. So look on our website for all of those.
We'll be sure to have that in the credits. But unfortunately, we have to end for now. Thanks again to continued success to both of you in future endeavors, and look forward to seeing it soon myself.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jay.
A pleasure.
Bye,
Also,
Anita.
Bye.
also want to thank those of you watching for joining us and hope you'll be able to tune in next time.